Welcome to the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kylie Burton. If you have been told that your blood work is normal, yet you feel awful, well, this is the place for you, because whether you have a diagnosis or not, I'm going to teach you how to turn those normal labs into real answers, healing, and hope. So grab your blood work. Come join me. Here we go.
We're going to focus on what's hidden inside your blood work that leads to true weight release. And I've got an example, a few pictures here to show you guys. This is what happens when we dive into blood work and figure out what is going on. Take a look at that picture. That's her before. This is her after. Completely different woman. She's going to walk us through what she did, her journey, why she did it. But first of all, we're going to dive inside the blood work, because when she discovered what was in her blood work, it just took her weight loss journey to new levels. I've done this for a lot of years. This is the first time I've ever done anything about weight. And the reason why I have sworn I would never do anything regarding weight loss is because, one, there are 9 million things out there. If you were to, you guys have all done this. You get on Google and you message or you ask Google, what helps to lose weight? And there's like 491 trillion different answers. Well, no matter what happens, no matter who comes into my world, no matter what their story is, their diagnosis, their lack of diagnosis is, whatever it is, I always go back to the basics. And I want to see what's hidden inside the blood work that they already have, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to focus on 5 markers. Those 5 markers are found inside the CBC with differential. So as you're looking at your blood work, you're going to want to look for a marker that says WBC. And I'll put that in the chat box. WBC. That is at the top of this lab. So find it. We'll talk about that one marker, and then we're going to skip a whole bunch of markers and go down to the big 5, because these big 5 markers are key to helping your body just release the weight. All right. The 5 hidden factors to what's stopping you from losing the weight despite trying 9 trillion different avenues, we call them infections. What type of infection? Well, that's what we're going to dive into each marker. With these infections, they lead to systemic inflammation, which I really hate that word because I think it's such a cop-out. Like, how many diagnoses have we heard that ends with itis? Like cellulitis, tendinitis, bronchitis. All it means is there's inflammation of some part of your body. It doesn't tell us anything about what's causing the inflammation, which is what we're going to get into, because I believe, and I've found a lot of issues where infections are the stemming culprit. Now, these infections are going to attack any part of your body, or, let's just leave it at that. Where they attack is dependent upon what your genetics tell it to attack. So, for example, if in my family, Parkinson's runs rampant in my family. So when the triggers are all there, it's like filling up a cup. Your body can only handle so much, and then it overflows, and all of a sudden we've got the diagnosis of Parkinson's, because that's what the genetic code in my family tells all the issues to present as. Someone else's family, it's Hashimoto's. Someone else, it might be chronic fatigue. Another person might experience, you live in an obese family, and it's just in your genetic code. There's no way around it. Whatever your story is, I want you to start telling yourself a different story, because this is the number one reason why I swore I would never do anything about weight loss and weight release. It's the mental side of things. I believe our brains are so powerful that the story we tell ourselves is the story that we are going to live. So if you don't get anything else out of this one workshop, I want you to start telling your brain and your body a different story. It sounds like this. And I don't care if you believe it or not. Just start saying it. It's really easy for my body to lose weight. It's really easy for my body to just release the weight that I've been trying to release now. I am safe releasing this weight. I love my body 5 years ago. I love my body now. I love my body in 5 years into the future. Our brains are so powerful. I'm going to do a lot more episodes around this and how we can just literally use our brains to change so much of our lives if we start to tell our body a different story. Now, I'm 6 months postpartum right now. Do I have my abs that I used to have in high school and college? No. But I still am wearing the exact same jeans I wore in high school. And I haven't done anything crazy. All I say to my body and to myself and in my head, sometimes even out loud, is that I release the weight really easily. My body recovers from postpartum, recovers from pregnancy and labor and delivery really well. Like, just start telling your body these things and you'll be surprised at how fast it listens. That's the first thing. The second step is to figure out how do we remove the source of inflammation, but we have to find it first. So let's find the source of inflammation. I can't jump into labs before I caveat that I read labs in a different way. I don't read labs to diagnose. I don't read labs to treat symptoms. I don't read labs to create weight loss solutions. I read labs that help an individual go from unhealthy to healthy. And those labs, what's hidden inside your normal blood work, walks me through the puzzle pieces that help an individual go from unhealthy to healthy. It's basically our path to what do we need to do to truly heal. And when we remove these underlying barriers, our health recovers, the weight just goes away. About the white blood cell count, WBC. That stands for white blood cell count. If you have a white blood cell count that's off, it means that there are infections going on. Now, 95% of Western medicine practitioners or doctors or whatever they are will not worry about the white blood cell count unless it is 20 or higher. And if it's above 20, now we're thinking something that's really ugly, like cancer. The number we care about, 5 to 8. Now, I don't come up with these numbers. I have altered the functional blood work ranges according to my experiences. But a man by the name of Dr. Datis Karazian came up with these. He and his team did a whole bunch of research 25, 30 years ago. Somebody had to do it. Somebody had to create these functional ranges. That is way different than the normal range, which is here. The functional ranges are here. Dr. Karazian is one of those guys that has 9 trillion letters next to his name. But I'd give credit where credit is due. So there's where the credit comes from. This lab range, though, this white blood cell count range, it is not the best. If you see your white blood cell numbers within that range, that doesn't mean that you're off. It means that we got to go in a little bit deeper. We need to pay attention to these 5 markers. Find on your labs something that says neutrophils are a type of white blood cell. We want to pay attention to the percentage markers. There's 2 different types of markers. We care about the percentage markers. If you see your numbers above 60%, now we are fighting some type of bacterial infection. This is not an infection that's going to come up positive on a test. You're not going to go to your doctor and run into them and say, hey, I've got this bacterial infection because I was listening to some crazy lady on a workshop or on her podcast. Let's treat this infection. Because they're going to laugh at you. They're not trained to read blood work this way. Very few individuals are. These are also low-grade infections meaning that if you were to take a test for Campylobacter, C. diff, E. coli, H. pylori, or any of those other names, they're not going to come back positive. Thank goodness. Otherwise, we'd be in a world of hurt. These are just underlying infections that cause major inflammation. Neutrophils themselves, these guys lead, and I don't know how many people I have talked to. I would say 99% of people who are trying to lose weight complain about something in their digestive tract, whether it be diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, heartburn, you name it. It also leads to joint pain. So maybe you're told that, it's because you're just getting old. That's why you're experiencing all the joint pain. You get a diagnosis of arthritis. There's still a reason behind it, no matter how old you are. And then last but not least, I would add 3. The third possibility is it's preventing the ability to release the weight. I need to clean my screen. It's not reading my fingerprints very easily. So think about this. These neutrophils, these low-grade bacterial infections, are going in and causing systemic inflammation. But they're not the only culprit. The next marker are called lymphocytes. The magic number for lymphocytes is 30%. So if you have a marker that's above 30%, now we're talking viruses. I don't care what type of virus it is because the treatment plan's all going to be the same. In fact, in your blood work, there's typically going to be one dominant infection, even though that's not the only one there. It's the one that's just dominating and ruling all the numbers. Viruses lead to 2 things: autoimmune diseases, technically 3, and what am I thinking here? Chronic fatigue, and then things like anxiety and depression. Now they're not limited to just those 3 things because viruses, again, attack the entire body. They attack wherever is the weakest link. So when it comes to autoimmune diseases, this is a huge culprit, a trigger to why you all of a sudden have Hashimoto's, or you suddenly have type 1 diabetes, or rheumatoid arthritis pops up into your life now. There has to be a reason, a trigger for it, and typically it's some type of viral component. But like I said, I don't care about what type of virus because the treatment is all the same when you get into the natural medicine world. All right, how are we good? We doing good, guys? Neutrophils 60%, lymphocytes 30%. Give me a thumbs up if you're understanding it. Or tell me in the chat box if you don't have your video on. Scale of 1 to 10. You guys get those 2 numbers. Neutrophils at 60%, lymphocytes at 30%. We pay attention to the high number. Neutrophils, lymphocytes. The next one are monocytes. The magic number for monocytes is 7%. When you find it above 7%, we're back to looking at viruses. So there are 2 different markers for viruses. One might be off while the other one is great. All it takes is 1. Now, before we get into the last 2 markers, I want you to really understand that just because you see one that's dominant in your blood work doesn't mean that it's the only one there. Where there is one infection, there are typically more. Last but not least, we have 2, let's start with the other one. 2 final markers, the Eosinophils and the Basophils. These guys are responsible for parasites. Their magic numbers are 3% and 1%. And if you see that those markers are off, we're going to need to make sure we rule out these as well. But typically, by the time people get to me, they've eliminated every possible food culprit under the sun. And so we really tackle the parasites. Now, there was a really fun case scenario I got a week ago. And this gentleman's eosinophil count was, I don't know, it was something high. Like 9% or something like that. And it was just like this random test. Like when all other tests that he had, it had been just fine. And it's funny because at the same time, there was a full moon. Word on the street is parasites are more active on full moons. So you can actually go back and look at multiple lab sets if you have multiple labs and see like, oh, maybe I was feeling great at this time of the blood draw, but 6 months before that, man, that was a bad week. I wasn't feeling good at all. And if you really want to get into the astrology part of it and see if there's a full moon involved, when the eosinophil count was elevated, we got some parasites to tackle. 9.4, so I remembered right. Okay, that's fun stuff. So now we're thinking, Kylie, what the heck does that have to do with any weight loss? Remember, these infections cause systemic inflammation. They are the big drivers behind that cop-out word, inflammation. So when you can remove these and take these away from being active inside your body, cool results happen. And I want to bring on a special guest who I just showed you guys her before and after pictures. And she will share with you her story on her weight loss and weight release journey, and then what she learned inside her blood work that took her to like the next level of weight release. You cannot test for candida inside these 5 markers because candida is a fungi, and there's no way to test within those 5 markers. But oftentimes the neutrophil count will still be elevated because of that co-infection possibility. So, okay, Christina, walk us back through your life the last few years.
Last few years. Oh, thank you, Nicole. The last few years, I have blown my own mind just by learning about functional medicine. I was just at a point in my life where I just didn't believe anything else would help me. So it's kind of a lifelong story, but I will tell you that I've had chronic migraine since middle school. So that's kind of where it begins, and nobody could help me. And it was just like, it's just your female, it's your hormones, that's your problem. And it just got worse and worse and worse. Married a military man, so stress from moving every couple of years, that adds a lot of stress to the body. Started having joint pain on top of the migraines, joint pain in my 20s. So I started having joint pain, and I remember it was in my right thumb. I was like, what in the world? What is happening? And they just told me, well, you have chronic inflammation, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Okay. So go on about my life. They offered me 600 milligrams of ibuprofen 3 times a day. And so they said, here you go, on your way. After having children, being tired all the time, I was just exhausted. There was really no explanation. My husband would go on deployments, so I'd be at home with the kids with these chronic migraines and this joint pain and this exhaustion. And the joint pain just got worse, tested for arthritis. Everything came back normal. Everything kept coming back normal. And I was like, that's just impossible because I feel horrible. It was, I got into a mindset of, well, this is my life. This is what I'm going to be. This is it. This is it for me. And just kept going down that depression rabbit hole. Went in to start a new kind of stress in my life. I went into nursing school of all things. So talk about stress. That is very stressful. I started that in 2009. Became a nurse at the age of 38. But it was shortly after nursing school that we discovered my TSH was elevated. So I went on with thyroid meds. Oh, everything will be fine. Here's your thyroid meds. Everything should be fine. The weight will start coming off. Because I had put on, I kid you not, like 30 pounds within the first couple of months of nursing school. And I was like, this cannot be. Nope. So I said, okay, well, your thyroid is acting up. Here's some meds. Oh, yes. This was actually just last week. Took that just last week. It was a little chilly here in Houston. So the thyroid meds didn't help, though. I still felt like crap. I still had headaches, joint pain. By this time, I had digestive issues. My esophagus was on fire. They gave me medication for blocking acid. It wasn't helpful. I was constipated all the time. I took every medication that was available for acid reflux. I've been through all of them.
I took I was on like 9 different medications for acid reflux as well in high school. That helps us do what we know,
Yeah.
right?
And
I've
then I
gotten my
found out,
throat scoped like 3 times. Couldn't even swallow anything. No, I'm dairy
yeah.
free and I haven't had a problem in years.
Well, I found out, and this is not something that they shared with me, you take these medications. I've been on them for a couple of years, and they're supposed to be meant for more of a short-term kind of thing. But I was on them for a while, and still didn't help. So found I gained, started gaining even more weight. Part of my journey is the loss of my sister. That is a lot of trauma and stress. I moved back to Houston for her, because this is, she had 5 children that she was leaving behind. She was terminal from the very beginning and asked me to move back to Houston to help raise her kids. So I did that, and imagine the loss, losing her. So more internal stressors going on. Went back to school, so more stress. My husband was still in the military.
Let's add one piece here too, because as we've talked about weight loss, I swore I would never do anything regarding weight loss and weight release. And there was 3 reasons why. 1, because of the mindset component, what we're telling ourselves in our head. And you realize, like with your story, wait, if I keep telling myself over and over and over again that this is how it's just going to be, then that's how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Until you changed your thinking process.
I did.
And step 2, the big second component, is an emotional component. I truly believe that weight is a physical protection. So at that time when you lost your sister, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm right, but you look at something, whether it be a piece of bacon or a cake, bite a cake, and just looking at it makes you feel like you're just gaining the weight.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's acting as that physical protection.
Yes.
From us. Okay, keep going.
Yes.
That's the reason number 2. And the reason number 3 is the blood work, and we're about to get there in your story.
Yes. Yes. So I found functional medicine in 2020. I was not getting any answers from my endocrinologist. And she was supposed to be one of the best in Houston. And she was just offering me all kinds of medications. At one point, I was on 12 different prescription medications, and all of them had side effects. And the only answer was, well, here, have another medication for the side effect of the one I just gave you. So it was really disheartening for me I was in my 40s at the time. I was, by the way, my birthday is on Tuesday. So yeah, so I'm going to be 52.
Happy birthday, living your best life.
So I was in my 40s. I was on more medication than my parents combined, who are 20-some years older than me. So I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. And I found functional medicine, found out which labs I needed to have ordered to get some answers. My endocrinologist fought me on that. She did not want to help me. She said it won't make a difference. It just doesn't matter. You still have low thyroid, and your treatment won't change, and your insurance won't pay for those labs, which I said, I don't care. I'm willing to pay cash. I just want answers. So I got a bunch of answers, and turned out I had
Hashimoto's. It's like normal standard blood work that any doctor can run. All they have to do is check the boxes. Mm-hmm. So before I jump into more of your story, let's go through what I would recommend and what you would recommend getting ordered, like ordering for blood work, because Christina has entered my world and is a functional blood work specialist. So we want to make sure that you guys understand what labs to order when you are going into your doctor and asking for them to read your blood work. And they are the CBC with differential. Make sure it's with that differential portion, because those are the 5 markers that we just talked about. The metabolic panel. Preferably the comprehensive one, but I don't think anybody tests anything else besides the comprehensive metabolic panel. The lipid panel is what it's called. that contains cholesterol, triglycerides, those kind of things. The thyroid panel. Now, up until this point, Christina, had you received anything besides a TSH in your blood work?
My endocrinologist did order T3 and T4.
Okay. We're making progress. I would say with this one especially, reverse T3. So the thyroid panel, TSH, free T4, free T3, TPO, and TG antibodies, then plus the reverse T3, because that's going to tell us a lot about where your metabolism sits. And it's not just like a simple, well, if it's above this number, then it's this. It's multifaceted, so I don't go into it when we're teaching, but be sure to grab that because it'll be a fun thing to monitor as you start to truly heal, and just watch the weight fall off as the metabolism speeds up naturally. So we've got the CBC, metabolic panel, the lipid panel, the thyroid, iron panel. And there's 5 panels, so which one are we missing? The iron panel, then I would get all of the hormones, and I'm talking DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. So I'd get them all. Don't just get one. Like they might say, oh, well, you're menopausal, so we're going to give you some estrogen and progesterone. Like, no, get all the puzzle pieces, get the whole story. If you don't get all the puzzle pieces, you're going to be missing pieces of your story. And then vitamin D is huge for cellular healing and health. Then we want our blood sugar markers, so glucose and A1C. And if you want an inflammation marker, HS-CRP is the best one. So there's your list. Take that to your doctor, or I can order it for you as well. And
I will tell you that I was low on vitamin D. It was low, and I was also pre-diabetic. But I also drank like a gallon of sweet tea a day because, you know, it was just good. And I'm from the South, and that's what
your
we
Texas
do.
girl.
That's what we do. But I did stop that. You know, it kind of needed to happen. So, where were
You
we?
remember what your vitamin D was?
I don't. I'd have to go back and look.
It was low. It's probably lower than 32.
It was low, but not low enough to get the prescription that they offer. But just when they just said, go to the big box store and take like 1,000 or 2,000 IUs a day. Just do that. I didn't feel any better.
Oh dear.
And
Y'all haven't, if you haven't heard my vitamin D rant, I won't get into it right now, but
let me tell you, since I started taking a good quality vitamin D, my life has improved in so many more ways, just with that simple supplement alone, a good quality one, not just one off the store shelf that you know, I don't shop at Costco.
Mine was 10. Oh, Timmy, that's low.
No.
Okay, before we get into the nitty gritties of vitamin D, just know that we always get told, oh, it has to be vitamin D with vitamin K. Like they got to be paired together. Look, there's a whole lot more to vitamin D, what we call cofactors, helping our body to actually absorb the vitamin D. We need all of the cofactors, not just the K, which is why we say, don't just go grab one off of the shelf. Get one that has multiple cofactors in it. But I'm not going to jump into supplements right now and treatment in that way because we would be here for days if we were talking about supplements. So, okay. So Stephanie, check the chat box where I went through the TSH, the thyroid panels. It's in there. What causes CRP to be very high? CRP is literally just a marker for inflammation. That's it. What causes inflammation? Well, in my opinion and experience, it's one of those 5 infections and chances are it's multiple infections. So as Christina's going along her healing journey with functional medicine help, she's being more careful with the diet. There are some dietary changes that are recommended. Did you work out? Did you exercise?
I did not.
What?
I was
Wait,
yeah.
I have to exercise more than I eat.
Oh, yeah. So I was being told that by my endocrinologist. She said, eat less and exercise more. And I was like, what do I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I had a ton of exercise programs that I tried and I quit because they just didn't jive with me. And I never stepped one foot into the gym. I do not have a gym membership. It's not my thing. And I just, no. And so I buy these exercise programs to work at home. I have a ton of them. I'm still unboxing some of them from Military Moves. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I still have that. It's so funny to me. But no, I did not. And once I found functional medicine and found that my adrenals were not working so well, I was told I was too sick to do heavy cardio exercise and lift heavy weights. What I needed was to walk my dog for a few minutes, clean something in my house, take some steps, around my house and do some cleaning, that kind of light exercise. So I did not get on a treadmill, a bike. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't need to. Once I found functional medicine, and it was music to my ears that somebody actually heard me and validated it. Because up until that point, I just thought, well, this is my life. I was in a negative mindset of other people just like me, especially women, that we all were having the same symptoms. And I'm like, well, I'm just breathing and this is it. And this is how it's going to be. And I may as well eat the cake because it's not going to matter anyway. And even at sometimes overeating, I didn't do a lot of overeating, but sometimes I was just like, what the heck? Let's just eat the whole baker's dozen of chocolate chip cookies from McDonald's because they're wonderful. Baker's dozen is a 13 in case you don't know. But on occasion I would do that, but I've learned, I don't need to do that anymore. I don't crave sugar. Part of the big reason why I don't drink sweet tea anymore. I just, on occasion, I'll have it with a steak.
Yeah, so you have made some dietary changes.
I
But
did
I wanted to
quickly-
bring out the fact that 90% of scenarios, when we're trying to lose weight and force ourselves to do all the right things, aka going to the gym and exercising, it's not actually what our body needs.
Right, and mine definitely did not.
When I give them permission, so if you're listening to this, I give you permission to no longer put that stress on your body. Sometimes, most of the time, all we need is to go for walks.
Mm-hmm.
All we need is to do some, like, pull up a 20-minute yoga thing on YouTube and just do some light stretching. Like, our bodies are so drained, depleted, that us going to the gym or doing all the workout things that we're told we have to do is actually counterproductive.
Because it sends out more cortisol, more stress hormones, more stress on the body, and can cause injury. And so I think one of the main things that I did was started telling myself I can easily release weight. I started saying release instead of loss. Because when our brain thinks that it's losing something, it feels unsafe. Yes. And will do everything it can and talk us into all those thoughts in our head. It will talk us into just, no, we got to stay this weight to be safe. Because when we try anything new, our brain is automatically going to be out of a comfort zone, and it's going to pull us back into our comfort zone. So we're going to go back to the same thoughts that we had. This is my life. This is what I'm going to do. And I start saying, no, thank you for reminding me of that, brain. I appreciate that, but we're not doing that today. Today, we're going to say, I can release weight easily. Today, we're going to say, I don't need that sweet tea. I can have this instead. I'm going to change my thoughts. Instead of saying, I hate shopping, because that was one of the things that I did. I hated shopping for clothes because it was just miserable. Nothing fit right. Nothing fit the way I thought it should. So I started thinking, I can find anything that I want. and put it on, and it's going to look fine. And that's where I'm at now. I can go into a store and I'm like, everything looks great. What do I want? It's like a what do you call it? A smorgasbord of clothing. Whatever I want, it looks good. And I just have to pick. I used to take like 10 pair of jeans into a dressing room and might find one that fit. It was so depressing and defeating. And so I just started picturing myself at a different size, a goal that I thought was not necessarily a number, but just a picture of how I want it to look. And I started thinking of things like when I put on my jeans, how easy it is to button them. Not, oh, I'm going to feel that muffin top when I slip on my jeans. So I can put on my jeans easily and button them, and it looks great and it feels great. So things like that, I started really working on. And here I am today, 130 pounds lighter. It's been a long
130
road.
pounds.
Mm-hmm.
When you first started, that was a daunting task.
Mission impossible. Cue the music. That's where I was. It was impossible to me. So I also started thinking of smaller increments. Well, geez, I have over 100 pounds to lose to be healthy, according to the BMI and the doctors and all that stuff. What if I just told myself I could easily lose 10 pounds at a time? What if I did that instead? And so I started doing that as well. And 10 pounds rolled into 20 and to 30. It became so much easier. And once I got my body right and started having the right supplements, cut the sugar, I mean, for crying out loud, nobody should be drinking a gallon of sweet tea a day. I mean, I'm just going to stick to my guns on that. You can. It's optional, totally optional. If you want to continue drinking a gallon of sweet tea or eating the whole cake, it's all an option. Take it, don't take it. But it won't change your circumstance and likely will keep the negative thoughts in your head, and it won't serve you well. So I would advise, if you're drinking a gallon of sweet tea like me, it might be one of the first things that you can. I did change, the biggest dietary change for me was gluten, because I have Hashimoto's. And I liked what Dr. Kiley said earlier, about, she wonders if it's the glyphosate on the wheat that is the problem or if it's actually the wheat. And now I'm curious. I would like to know. I have a feeling it's the glyphosate.
What we all?
I have a feeling it's the treatment that they put on the crops that is really the issue. So I'm not
Christina, like overall, you did make a couple dietary changes. And that has helped. But I find so many people who have made the dietary changes and they still feel stuck.
Because they haven't dealt with the underlying infections.
In walks this ad that pops up in your life with my face on it. And you join the practitioner program to learn how to read blood work. So you start to read your blood work, and what do you find?
I have bacterial. I actually, that's where I found the 1-to-1 ratio. So now I know if I'm having an off day, I can go to my doctor and have a CBC with differential, and I can check to see where I'm at. But now I just kind of know, oh, I've got a bacterial or a viral infection going on. So I can read my own blood work and treat myself. And when you treat the underlying infections, that's when the magic happens. That's when the weight releases like hot butter in the summertime. It's just amazing. I've blown my own mind with it because, I wasn't 100% sure that this time it would work for me, but it just made sense to me that if I dealt with the underlying issues, that everything else would heal, because we are born to heal. How do you treat the infections? Dr. Kiley?
With some pretty powerful supplements that we
with
have.
Some powerful
Figured
supplements that actually work. And also I had a coach that helped me with, I've been there, I've done that kind of thing. And that's what I had, which really helped me with the mindset, changing how I thought about my body, how I thought about food, how I thought about being ill. And am I still on meds? I still take thyroid meds. And that is my next goal, is to lower the thyroid meds even more, because I've lowered the dosage. So that's good news, right? But my next goal is to lower them even more, because I'm like, well, I've already done this. What else can I do? But I don't have chronic migraines anymore. I don't have joint pain anymore. And when I say I had joint pain, I mean I had joint pain all day long, which didn't help with my mood. It didn't help with my energy, because I didn't want to move, but moving helps aching joints. I went to bed with joint pain. I woke up with joint pain. So I don't have that anymore. I don't have the migraines. I don't have the indigestion. I don't have the constipation. I don't have the prediabetes. I released it all. And it's just...
Released it. Love it.
It's just amazing. And now, on occasion, I'll get a headache. It usually has to do with allergies. Like right now, oak is very dominant here in Houston. My car is green. And then I'm like, how in the world did I ever live with chronic migraines? And if you don't know what chronic migraines, it means you have 15 or more in a 30-day period. So I had one just about every day. And I don't know how I functioned. I just did. With my husband being deployed, 2 small children, I just functioned. And because that's what we do as moms, right? And the kids come first and we take care of them. And so that's where I was. And then just decided, in the last couple of years, that I just didn't want to live like that anymore. So now I have a 1-year-old grandchild that I can chase around. He's learning to walk. It's a beautiful thing. I can chase around and not worry about my joints hurting and my head hurting, and not have to, sit on the couch and not interact with him because I'm so tired. And it's really, really an exciting thing now, to be able to do things that I wasn't able to do. And I don't require naps during the day and get good sleep. And it's just amazing. It's been an amazing journey, an amazing transformation. And I'm at a weight that I'm very happy with. And so now it's just continuing on the journey of what else can I do? What else can I do? And this is what I'm doing. Now I'm helping people I've been in your shoes, helping people, giving them tips, giving them tricks, looking at their lab work. Okay, so what are you doing? What is your plan? A lot of people have asked me about the weight loss medication that is so big out there, the injection. And I'm just going to be honest, I don't agree with that. Some people look at it as a quick fix, but what they are not telling you are the harsh side effects that can possibly come with that injection. As a matter of fact, within the last few days, a high school friend of mine posted, she did it about 2 weeks ago. She posted that she had been on this injection since November and had lost 70 pounds and was feeling great. And I'm like, And I always think, well, what is the plan when you come off of that medication? What are you going to do? If you haven't changed your diet or haven't changed things around, like in your mind, if you're not prepared for that, what is your plan? And some people, they're like, well, I'm just kind of hoping for the best and hoping that I'll learn how to eat better. So when I come off the shot, it'll be fine. Well, this girl that I went to high school with posted this a couple weeks ago on Facebook, and everybody was all, oh, congratulations. I'm like, but I wonder how she's really feeling. Well, then just a couple of days ago, and I certainly can't prove it, but I have a strong suspicion. She developed a blood clot in her stomach, in her intestines, and had 4 feet of her intestines removed within the last couple of days. And I suspect it has to do with the injection. And that's not to scare anybody. Of course, it's optional. Everybody can do what they feel is best for them. But that is a side effect, blood clots. stomach paralysis, intestinal paralysis. So people, they're not pooping. So if you're not pooping, you're not detoxing. So that's a big problem. I do have a nurse friend that chose to go that route. I went the functional medicine route. She was on that medication. She did have to stop taking the medication because she had stomach paralysis, intestinal paralysis, and she stopped taking it like last September, I believe, and is still having issues with it, and started gaining the weight back pretty quickly. So that's one thing about it. So I don't advocate for that particular medication. I advocate for a functional medicine route because it resolves the issues. And when you resolve the underlying issues, you feel so much better. The weight stays off. I haven't gained any weight back. And it's just been incredible. So now here I am sharing and
Let's
helping.
talk about these three underlying issues that I'm huge on. One is the mental side. You having to rethink the way you think, really. Two is the emotional aspect, where if we can start healing these hidden emotions, these wounds that we've experienced because we're humans and we're experiencing human life, so that the body feels safe, releasing the weight. And then three, the inflammation causers. Removing those infections with the right supplements and the right protocol to get these things out of our body so that we can then heal the cells, the organs, the tissues, the glands, and ultimately have our systems work very, very well together, which is why I don't treat diagnoses, I don't treat symptoms, I treat people as a whole. Because you have multiple systems that work together, at least they're supposed to, work together really well. And when we do that, now everything that we hear about with weight, and not just weight, but actually feeling good, which is ultimately the goal, to feel good, becomes a reality.
Hey, if you're new here, welcome aboard. If you're coming back, welcome back. I'm coming back as well. In fact, we're going to have new episodes every Wednesday right here on the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast. If you love what you just listened to and love what you've been listening to, I would be honored to have you leave a review. Leave it on the place where you listen to your podcast, so that way more people can find this podcast and get answers from their blood work as well. I'm Dr. Kylie, and I'll see you next week.